Hi everyone, we have an allowances update to share with you today. So when you are making your allowances, you now have the ability to choose whether or not that allowance is a price allowance or a cost and fee allowance. So let's see how this works. So now we have two allowances within my budget right here. And if I hover over the little allowance icon, I see that the flooring allowance here is a cost allowance item and the appliances allowance is a price allowance item. Now, typically you wouldn't have two different types of allowance items in one job budget, but I'm doing this just to kind of show you the difference between the two. So within, let's say, the flooring allowance, whenever you're creating an allowance item, you go into the item details, and you're going to have that allowance item toggled on, but now you have the ability to choose if you're going to show cost and fee or not. So by default, any new allowance items that you create will show price. And so if you'd like to show cost and fee instead of price, you just toggle this on and then it will show the cost and fee on the allowance item. All right, let's see what this means though. So let's go ahead and add these to my proposal real quick to get the customer order to approve it. But one thing to keep in mind when I'm doing so is that both of these items do have a 30% margin on them. That means I do want to collect 30% profit margin on any overage of these items, okay? So we'll go ahead and create our proposal. You know, I'm just going to include just the allowances in this one, create it. I want to get these approved. So in the proposal though, both allowance types will show the price that includes your profit margin, just to make sure that, that you're including all of those amounts within your customer order. Your customer can then anticipate those. So we'll go ahead and approve it. Update, awesome. So now we have an approved customer order with those allowances. So let's pop over to the selections tab. So now you'll see I have an appliance allowance selection and the flooring allowance selection here. And then I also have the allowance price and the allowance cost. So depending on what type of allowance it is, it will either show the price or the cost. Now, when I say cost, that means it's just showing the basic cost. It does not include your profit margin in what's displayed here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the documents I've already added to the allowances. So I've created some selection documents. Here in the price allowance, I have the appliance selections listed. And as you can see, based on what might be chosen in the selection document, it's going to show the price at the bottom. So basically, the customer chose more than the allowance amount here, so the selections that they chose is $16,000, and then that removes, you know, what was it? $15,714, yeah, the $15,714 directly from the selections price, and that leaves them with an added price of $428.57. So that's how much the customer owes in addition to the allowance amount, and that does include your profit margin directly in that number. Now let's look at the cost one. All right. Remember, cost and fee is typically used for cost plus jobs, so keep that in mind. So now as we look at this selection document, you'll see that again, the customer chose over the selection or the allowance amount by $600. And so that's showing that their added cost is $600. But then they also have this added fee line of $257. That's the additional profit margin that's being collected from the overage amount. And so the total that they are going to owe beyond the allowance amount is $857.14. All right, so once they approve those, then you'll go ahead and see all of these, the numbers populate up here. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're gonna approve it on their behalf. And now you'll see the allowance price, the selections price, and the remaining right here. And then same thing with the costs. Allowance cost, selection costs, and the remaining. Okay, we hope that this is helpful and that it's going to help you align your allowances directly to your typical business practices. Thank you so much.